जितेश सर।
अवेलेबल हूँ।
यस सर। कुणाल सर।
5 मिनट्स में आ रहे 5 मिनट्स में आ रहे हैं।
We
Just
have
wait.
to-
अभिषेक ठीक है?
हाँ सर नमस्कार।
उपस्थित हूँ।
सर आप तो हमेशा उपस्थित रहते हैं।
ठीक है।
कुणाल जी आ रहे हैं, थोड़ी देर में फिर से स्टार्ट करते हैं।
आई थिंक इट इज 1 o'clock.
हाँ सर, it's only 1 minute left and we are waiting for Kunal sir only. He's the second judge.
Am I audible to you?
Yes sir, you are very well audible.
Okay. 521 3 speaker 1.
So there's only one team left now because the second team has withdrawn themselves from the competition.
Then
Sir, there's only going to be submission made by the 523 now. So you have to mark to them only, like because the second team for the respondent is not available.
so 523 is for defense or prosecution?
They're for the prosecution, sir.
Prosecution.
माइक के बाद तो 100% कर दो था
नहीं
करिए
100%
कर दो ना
100% ही है.
हाँ स्पीकर लेके आए बड़ा वाला गो
फिर कुणाल जी 2 मिनट में ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, उनसे बात हुई अभी. Meanwhile, I can take down the time for the speakers. So team 5 to 3. How much time are you going to divide?
Yes, sir. So for speaker 1, that is 15 minutes, and as for speaker 2, we'll be taking 10 minutes.
10 minutes. And okay. No rebuttal because
Yeah,
second team is
yes.
not available. 15 and 10, 25 minutes
Yes,
in
sir.
total.
So in the case if respondent is not available, we shall be taking the 5 minutes for if the lordships have any questions for us.
Yeah, you have time for that.
Okay, so thank you, sir.
Yes, we can begin.
Welcome, Kunal Bhaiya.
Welcome.
Sorry, welcome, Kunal ji.
Thank you so much.
So, today we have, first of all, welcome all of you and a very good afternoon to all of you. I, Abhishek Vashish, on behalf of Adhivakta Parishad, Delhi High Court Unit, welcome all of you. And today we have amongst us Mr. Jitesh Srivastava.
Volume.
Jitesh ji started his. Sir, can I give you a short introduction of you? Jitesh sir?
Yes, am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay.
So Jitesh sir started his career in the year 1989. Since then, he has been mainly practicing in the criminal area. Sir is also on the as a senior panel lawyer of the Union of India in Delhi High Court. Apart from that, Sir heads the Delhi unit, state unit of the Adhivakta Parishad. And Sir is a very diligent lawyer. All of you who are going to be lawyers someday,
Abhishek, may I just interrupt for a minute? This voice is very, very low. I don't know. We are unable to hear you.
sir, now am I audible to you?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible to you?
Yes, now it is.
Now you
Now
are
it is audible. So Jitesh sir, as I've already told you, is a very diligent lawyer. He has started his practice in the year 1989. He mainly works in Patiala House Court and other various district courts in Delhi. Also, he's a senior panel counsel at the Delhi High Court for the Union of India. The other judge on the bench is Mr. Kunal Malhotra. Sir has experience of 12 years of practice in the Delhi High Court and the other various district courts. Sir also looks after is also empaneled with the Delhi High Court State Legal Services Authority. And Sir is also in the criminal, Sir mainly practices in the criminal side. So all of you who are going to be lawyer in the coming days have a lot of. Sir, your video is getting blurred.
My video.
Yes, Kunal, sir.
It will be fine in a minute.
Your voice is very low, actually.
Am I audible now?
Yeah. Now you're audible.
Okay,
So, sir, with your permission, may we start with the today's proceedings?
please.
So, team, sir, unfortunately, we don't have the respondents team. We only have one team with us, and they are going to make their submissions now. Team 5 to 3, speaker 1.
Shall I begin? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, please.
If it may please the court, I am speaker number 1, appearing on behalf of the state in the case of state NIA versus Sameer and others. The council shall address the issue of whether the accused is guilty under section 121, 123, 489B and 489C of Indian Penal Code 1860, and whether the charges pressed against the accused under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act justified. My co-counsel shall be addressing the issue of whether the evidence by investigating agency enough to uphold the conviction. If your lordship is well versed with the fact of the case, the council seeks permission to proceed with the submissions.
Please proceed with the submission.
In addressing the issue, that is whether the accused is guilty of the offences under the sections of IPC as mentioned before, the council humbly contends that in the present case, penal action imposed on the accused is valid. It is humbly submitted before the Honourable Court that the accused in the present case attempted to wage war against the state as well as conceal the information regarding such attempt to wage war. The accused also knowingly used and carried a forged note as genuine. Section 121 applies to anyone who wages, attempts, aids in the conduct of war against the government of India. Here the element is that the section impugns the sovereignty of India. when a multitude rise and assemble to attain by force and violence any object of a general public nature, that is divine war, within contemplation of this section, to prove waging war, it is the purpose and intention, the object they have in view, which congregates and assembles them together and gives them impulse in their arming and in their rising. And this is what constitutes treason against the state. The issue of waging war against the government of India is to be found in court's decision in State Entity of Delhi versus Navjot Sandhu, where the court quoted the Law Commission report and quoted that we conceive the term wages war against the government naturally import a person arraying himself in defiance of the government in like manner and by like means a foreign enemy would do. The word overall in section 121 plainly implies more than production of apprehension, fear, or alarm or terror. It is not necessary that the danger should be danger of assassination or bodily harm. The danger might as well be to public property, to the safety of public at large. In case at hand, the accused planned to execute a bomb blast on Indian Army convoy on Independence Day and therefore had attempted to wage war against the government of India. The council humbly submits that the accused should be held under section 123 IPC, as they also had intention to facilitate an act of terror by providing fake Indian currency note to execute bomb blasts on the Indian Army convoy. Section 489B of IPC states that whoever uses any forged or counterfeit currency note as genuine, knowing or having reason to believe the same to be forged or counterfeit, shall be punished either with imprisonment of life or imprisonment extending to 10 years and shall also be liable to pay fine. It is difficult to adduce direct evidence on this aspect to ascertain mens rea or intention of the accused, and same can be inferred from circumstances and conduct of the accused. And if he is not able to give any satisfactory explanation for coming into possession of such article, then it may be interference can be made that he had intention and knowledge as contemplated under section 489B. Knowledge and intention are state of mind which cannot be proved by direct evidence and have to be inferred from attending circumstances. In Tikaram versus State of UP, the counterfeit currency notes were found in possession of accused and he failed to offer any valid explanation for the same. So in the absence of valid explanation, the court can presume that the accused had sufficient reason to believe that the notes were counterfeit and fake. In Arvind Bakilal Verma versus State of Maharashtra, the accused did not provide any satisfactory explanation as to how they were found in possession of fake notes, nor any contention raised that they had no knowledge of said notes being fake, and the conviction was upheld. The accused had the knowledge that the notes they were carrying were not genuine, which is supported by the statement given in police examination and the other facts revealed by the accused. If a person is found in possession of counterfeit currency note, it is up to him or her to furnish satisfactory explanation regarding the possession of the same. If there is no explanation, person found in possession of such can be held liable. It is humbly submitted that accused 1 and accused 2 were found in possession of 250 high quality fake Indian currency note of rupees 2000 denomination having face value equivalent to 5 lakh, recovered from Sameer, accused 1, from black bag, and similarly 250 notes of high quality fake currency note in denomination of rupees 2000 having total face value equivalent to 5 lakh were recovered from a maroon color bag. So the total value that was recovered was 10 lakh, and A1, that is accused 1, has also stated that they used to receive 10% commission on each deal. The facts of the case are also similar to that of Punnaswamy versus State. The accused alleged to have purchased paddy from farmer by paying 130 forged currency note of rupees 160 denomination. The police seized more forged currency notes from his possession. However, he did not have any explanation to offer as how he came to possess the same. Explaining the implications of not having any explanation, the Supreme Court said, silence on the part of the accused is in such circumstances would itself be a telling circumstance which would weigh against him in consideration of prosecution evidence led against him. Thus, the Supreme Court in the case held him guilty. It is humbly submitted that In the present case, when the accused was found in possession of large quantity of fake currency notes, and when they revealed that they had procured the seized fake currency note from A3 from Kalikach, Malda, the same was kept in a secret cavity of the bag. It has also come into light that it was a second attempt to procure these fake currency note, as the deal could not be materialized in the first week of February. Therefore, this brings me to my second issue, that the charges of UAPA should be attracted. It is humbly submitted before the Honorable Court that the charges pressed against the appellant under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967 are justifiable. The accused had indulged in the process of circulating high-quality fake currency note to assist terror attack on Indian Army convoy in Pulwama. Such attacks create terror in general public, shake the foundation of democracy in India. Under such circumstances, the accused can be declared as terrorist and the charges pressed against him in consonance with the act committed by him. The UAPA Act is a strict liability legislation which gives immense power to safeguard the national security. As per Section 15 of UAPA as amended, it has been included therein that economic security and damage to the monetary stability of India by way of production, smuggling or circulation of high quality counterfeit Indian paper currency, coin or any other material, as the existing provisions of the aforesaid Act do not include within this scope. An act done with an intent to threaten or to threaten likely the economic security of India and counterfeiting Indian paper currency or coin is terrorist activity. In Hitendra Vishnu Thakur versus State of Maharashtra, Honorable Supreme Court says that the effect of terrorist activity must be such that it travels beyond the capacity of ordinary law enforcement agency to deal it with under the ordinary penal law. Sorry. As per the certificate that was issued by Reserve Bank of India by its Bharatiya Reserve Bank Note Mudran Private Limited, the seized currency notes are of high quality counterfeit Indian bank notes, and same were recovered with the meaning of third schedule of UAPA 1967 Amended Act, and this amounts to terror activities as well. In the case at hand, the Special Cell Delhi Police forwarded the seized fake Indian currency note to CFSL CBI New Delhi for the expert opinion. The CFSL CBI New Delhi forwarded a point that the disputed note appeared to be of high quality that was on random examination. And in another expert opinion on examination on part that was on part of the fake Indian currency note, it was opined that the question Indian currency note were indeed of high quality and were fake. With a reference to the report given by CFSL, the charges against the accused attract Section 15 of UAPA. The accused 1 and 2 were caught in possession of fake Indian currency note red-handed, which were to be utilized for a terrorist attack as revealed by them during the investigation. The upshot of the above-mentioned statement leads one to infer that the offence of possession of fake Indian currency with intent to threaten the economic security of country is covered under the definition of terrorist action under Section 15 of UAPA. The accused has carried out such action which are none other than terrorist acts. The investigating agency has material which prima facie shows the applicant was part of a larger conspiracy and had abetted in attracting Section 16, 17, 18 and 20 of UAPA apart from other offences. As per Section 17, raising funds for terrorist act is punishable. A person is liable under this act only when he or she has knowledge that such funding will be used for a terrorist attack. Under Section 18 of the said act, it punishes for conspiracy. In Ridaul Hussain Khan versus NIA, by stating that money rose must be intended to finance a terrorist activity, therefore the court held that the Section 17 would cover raising, collecting and providing funds to a person known to engage in terrorist acts. It is not just that the person has to be associated with some terror organization. In the present case, it has been disclosed by the accused that the fake Indian currency note of 5 lakh denominations were to be used to execute a bomb blast on Indian Army convoy and hence waging a war against the state. It has been revealed through the investigation that the first attempt to procure fake Indian currency notes was also unsuccessful. The council humbly contends that accused 1 and 2 had knowledge that the fake Indian currency note that was seized were to be utilized by Suhail for a terrorist act. In Yaqub Abdul Razak Menon versus State of Maharashtra, Honorable Supreme Court has held that since it is not necessary for an organization to be declared unlawful for it to commit terrorist acts, even support given to such association not declared unlawful should be criminalized as long as there was knowledge that the terrorist act will be committed. The contents of the mobile phone seized from the accused person also show the numbers of accused persons sorted in their phone books and thereby establishing the association. The tower locations of the mobile phones, their call records, transcripts on important days establish the plans to execute the blast. And accordingly, Section 18, accordingly, they should be punished under Section 18. It states that whoever conspires or attempts to commit or advocates, abets, advises, incites, directly or knowingly facilitates the commission of a terrorist act or any act perpetuity to the commission of a terrorist act shall be punishable with the imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 5 years, but which may extend to imprisonment for life, and shall also be liable to pay fine. The accused herein were in constant contact. In financial inclusion account opening form, accused 3 has mentioned mobile number as his number, and the same number whose CDR analysis show that there was frequent communication and association with mobile numbers of A4, A1, A2 and A5. It can be inferred that they raised funds to facilitate terrorist activities and conspired to against bomb blasts on Indian Army convoy. Therefore, they should be held under the said sections of UAP. If my lordships have any question, I would like to answer them. Otherwise, my co-counsel shall be addressing the third issue.
Yes. Speaker 1,
Yes, sir.
please tell me what about CFSL report? How can you say the currency note which was found was fake currency? Where is the report?
So the report has been mentioned that in the charge sheet it has been mentioned that the fake, after seizure of the fake currency note, it was sent to CFSL to examine whether the note that the currency in question is fake or not. And there are two opinions that they got on first was the random examination, and they said that yes, it is fake currency note. And on proper examination, it was revealed that the fake currency note was of high quality.
Where it is mentioned? As per expert opinion, EFSL number 123/2015, on random examination, the notes examined appear to be high quality. Number 2, CFSL number 563/15, 250 notes of 2000 denomination examined are FICN. This lot was seized from Samir A1. What is the ground of fake? Yes.
So in the annexure L, that it has been annexure H, that's on page number.
On what basis the expert has opined that these notes are FICL?
So it was examined by the CFSL CBI that these are for high quality note, because on when it was found in the possession, it was not, the police was not sure whether it's fake or not, because it was so high quality. And after the examination done by CFSL, it was appointed that yes, it is of high quality fake.
I agree with you. I'm just asking you what is the basis of declaring it as a FICL? On what basis the expert has opined that these notes are fake?
So it was the expert opinion as mentioned in the chart sheet that these notes were of high quality, high quality.
I agreed. Section 45 of Evidence Act, expert opinion is admissible But my question is to you: on what basis the expert has opined that these are the fake currencies? Is there any explanation about it?
My lordship, I'm afraid there's no
Is is
explanation
there
from
any
your.
explanation regarding fake currency notes are found from him?
Yes, they were found in possession of fake currency note from the New Delhi railway station, and
That's very true. I'm asking you, what are the basis on which basis they have declared it is a fake currency?
sir, sir, my lordship, accused three has admitted that, and it has been stated by accused three that there was another deal in first week of February that they tried to crack to procure fake Indian currency note,
You are
and
not going.
because
You are not getting my question. My question is, what is the basis on which basis the expert has opined that these are the fake currencies? I'm asking that question. That is their admission. That is their disclosure statement. That's true. But the thing is, what are the basis on which basis the expert has opined that these are the fake currencies?
sir, in this connection, NIA case number under section 120B, 489B, and 489C of IPC, and the sections that were mentioned in UAPA, invoked in pursuit of the case because circumstances of recovery, examination of the expert opinion report of CFSL, which give the opinion that it is of high quality, and approval of upon the approval of the competent authority only, it has been opined that the currency in question is fake currency.
My question is entirely different. My question is, what are the basis on which basis the expert has opined
So
that
it
these are
is,
the currencies?
Lordship, it has been issued under section 6(3) of the investigation of high quality counterfeit Indian currency expenses rules
I,
against the accused.
I agree with you. I am simply asking what are the basis on which basis they have declared it that these are the fake currencies. This is what my question. It's very simple question. The prosecution, I mean to say, you have not put these, like if you go for expert opinion regarding signature, writing, they prepared extra chart, etc., etc. This is what I'm asking you. What was the basis on which basis they have declared it is a fake currency? Anyway, that's okay. Move ahead. Abhishek, you want to say something? Your voice is not coming.
May it please the court that I'm the co-counsel for the accused, and along with this, I would like to begin my argument. My argument is whether the evidence are abused by the investigating agency enough to uphold conviction. It is humbly submitted before the honorable court that in the given factual matrix, the evidence presented are sufficient to prove that the charges levied on A1, A2, and A3, the evidence presented are substantive in nature. My lord, Section 21 of the Evidence Act state that admission are relevant and may be proved as against the person who makes them or his representative in interest, but they cannot be proved or on behalf of the person who makes them or by his representative in interest, except in the following cases. Number one would be an admission may be proved by or on behalf of the person making it when it is of the such nature that if the person making it were dead, it would be relevant as between third person under section 32. An admission may be proved by or on behalf of the person making it when it consists of a statement of the existence of any state, mind, or body existed and is accompanied by the conduct rendering its falsehood improbable. An admission may be proved by or on behalf of the person making it if it is relevant otherwise than as an admission. My lord, what a party himself admits to be true may reasonably be presumed to be so, and until that presumption is rebutted, the fact admitted should be taken to be established. In the present case, the statement of PW1 was verified when the police reached the railway station and seized the bags with FICN. This distinction was clearly made out in Bharat Singh versus Bhagirathi, where the court disposed of a similar argument with the following observation: admissions are substantive evidence by themselves in view of section 17 and 21 of the Act, though they are not conclusive proof of the matters admitted. We are of opinions that admission duly proved are admissible evidence irrespective of whether the party makes them appeared in the witness box or not, and whether he was confronted with these statement in case he made a statement contrary to those admission. An admission is a substantive evidence of the fact admitted, while a previous statement used to contradict a witness does not become substantive evidence and merely serves the purpose of throwing doubt on the veracity of the witness. My lord, section 25 of the Evidence Act state that no confession made to a police officer shall be proved as against a person accused of an offense. In the case Kartar Singh versus State of Punjab, it was stated that the mind of the accused before he makes the confession must be in state of perfect equanimity and must not have been operated upon by fear or inducement. In the case at hand, both A1 and A2 reveal their involvement and disclose that co-accused A3, A4 and A5 were planning a terrorist conspiracy against the country. In Bheru Singh versus State of Rajasthan, it was stated that section 25 excludes all the statement of incriminating nature made to a police officer, whether made before or after becoming an accused person. My lord, section 27 acts as an exception of section 25, and it states that how much of information received from the accused may be proved, provided that when any fact is deposed to as discovered in consequence of information received from a person accused of any offense in the custody of a police officer, so much of such information, whether it amounts to a confession or not, as related distinctly to a fact thereby may be proved. Although confession or by an accused to a police officer or when is in police custody is admissible, statements in confession which are relevant for the purpose of section 27 are admissible. There are two essential conditions for the application of section 27. One is accused of an offense. The person giving information must be accused of any offense. As in the case Devanandan Dusad versus King Emperor, it was held that the statement must be of a person who was then an accused. And the number two is he must also be in police custody. In State of Bihar versus Madan Lal, it was said that the word custody in this section does not mean physical custody by arrest. In Musammat Ehsan Bibi versus the Crown, it was stated that as soon as an accused or suspected person comes to the hand of a police officer, he is in the absence of clear evidence to the contrary, no longer at liberty, and therefore in custody within the meaning of section 26 and 27. And in Paramhansa versus State of Orissa, it was that even indirect control of over the movement of suspects by the police would amount to police custody. Parts of confession under this section are in Madigua versus Unknown. It was stated that section 25 exclude a confession to the police, but not any other matter unconnected with the confession. Example, a statement by the accused of his presence at the scene of the occurrence of the ill will that existed against the deceased. As regards of the section 27, it requires the only statement made by the accused that lead to a subsequent discovery are admissible as evidence. Requirement of sections are: discovery must be consequent, must not be within the knowledge of the police, information must lead to the discovery of the fact, must be in the knowledge of the accused, information must be distinctly connected with the discovery. The discovery was consequent. This section contemplates of the consequent of the information given by the accused. It leads to the discovery of some fact stated by him. In the instant case, the discovery of traces A3 and A4 were consequent to the information provided by the A1, A2. And number second is was not within the knowledge of the police. The fact discovered must be one which was not within the knowledge of the police, and the knowledge of the fact was for the first time derived from the information given by the accused. The presence of FICN in the Indian bag seized by the police and involvement of Kalu was within the knowledge with the police, led to the discovery of the fact. Led to the discovery of the fact. It was in the case of Ramachandra versus state of Kerala, it was stated that the information which led to the discovery of a witness to whom the accused had given the stolen article is also the discovery of the fact. Number 4 was within the knowledge of the accused, the knowledge of the accused of the place where the object was produced and the knowledge that it was there. The accused were aware about the FICN which was seized from them. Distinctly connected with the with discovery. Only such portions of information as is distinctly connected with the said discovery is admissible in Bodhraj versus State of Jammu Kashmir. A statement even by way of confession made in police custody which distinctly relates to the fact discovered is admissible in evidence against the accused. And my lord, that the chain of circumstantial evidence is fully established. In Mohanlal versus State of Uttar Pradesh, it is a well-settled principle that where the case is mainly based on circumstantial evidence, the court must satisfy that must satisfy itself that the various circumstances in the chain of evidence should be established clearly, and then completed chain must be such as to rule out as a reasonable likelihood of the innocence of the accused. It can be clearly established from the given investigation that both A1 and A2 were involved in conspiracy with A3 and A4 and A5 and were closely associated as a gang which was actively involved in criminal conspiracy for purchase, procurement, transportation and financing of extremely high quantity and high quality of FICNs. Furthermore, the chain of circumstances that is from the arrest of accused A1 and A2, it was revealed that the 5 lakh of FICN were to be transported to A4 to Pulwama from the execution of a bomb. A3 disclosed the role of Suhail. A5, which is A5, who was the main conspirator and was receiving instruction and was receiving instructions from Lashkar-e-Taiba from Pakistan and Bangladesh. My lord, in Sharad Birichan Sarda versus State of Maharashtra, it was stated that when attempting to convict on circumstantial evidence alone, that the court must be finally satisfied of the following 5 things. The following 5 things are the circumstances from which the conclusion of guilt is to be drawn should be fully established. The circumstances must be or should not be made established. Number 2 is the facts so established should be consistent only with the hypothesis of the guilt of the accused. That is to say, they should not be explained on any other hypothesis except the accused is guilty. Number 3 is the circumstances should be of conclusive nature and tendency. The number 4 would be this: they should exclude every possible hypothesis except the one to be proved. There must be a chain of evidence so complete as not to leave any reasonable ground for the conclusion consistent with the innocence of the accused, and must show that in all human probability the act must have been done by the accused. My lord, in Patel Lalji Bhai versus Soma Bhai versus State of Gujarat, that in the drawing the interference true rule of law, which is to be applied in the rule which requires the guilt be not to be interfered unless that is the only interference which allows from the circumstances of the case, and no other innocuous inference can be drawn. My lord, the Supreme Court of India in Bakshish Singh versus the state of Punjab stated, in a case resting on circumstantial evidence, the circumstances must be satisfactorily proved, and those circumstances should be consistent only with the hypothesis of the guilt of the accused. Again, those circumstances should be of a conclusive nature and tendency, and they should be such as to exclude every hypothesis by that one proposed to be proved. In the case at hand, or circumstances can be established, the arrest of A1, A2 led to a discovery of a huge conspiracy which could have led to a threat to the national security of India. The statement given by A1, A2 led to the arrest of prime suspect of the conspiracy. If your lordship is satisfied with the argument, may I proceed with the prayer?
Please proceed.
Please proceed. The prayer.
In the light of issues raised, arguments advanced, and authorities cited, the Council of the State humbly prays that the Honorable Court be pleased adjudge, hold, and declare conviction of the accused 1, 2, and 3, Section 120B, 489B, 489C, Section 121 and Section 123 and Section 201 of IPC, and Section 16, 17, 18, and 20 of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967 as amended. Conviction of the accused 1, 2, and 3 under Section 16, 17, 18, and 20 of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967 as amended. Any pass, any order or relief that it may deem fit in the best interest of justice, fairness, equity, and good conscience. For this act of kindness, the shall forever pray.
Okay. Mr. Kunal, please put your question. Thereafter, I'll put question.
I have one question to ask you. You are saying that conspiracy has been established.
Yes.
Since A5 and A4, you are unable to connect them. One has taken the poison, one has died, one has infiltrated into the Bangladesh. As per your own case, how do you say that there was a conspiracy to attack or plan a bomb attack in Pulwama? What is the evidence? What is the evidence which has been adduced apart from the disclosure statements, which you yourself are saying is inadmissible piece of evidence?
The data analysis, my lord, and as we can see that the Kalu Mama, that the first I'm gonna speak the chain of the evidences. Number first, A1 and A2 admitted himself that he was getting 10% commission of the notes which he was going to give to them. And number second was that they attempted this on the first week of February, but it was failed, and then they did it in the second February. And the Kalu Mama himself said that in one second, as you can see the seizure memo, it was stated
Which page?
in Iqbal's statement, page number 48.
Please read it.
Yeah, it was said that M.S. Suhail, in one of the general meetings of the Social Impact Initiative, his firm, them to Kalu Mama. Soon they started working together. With the due course of time, they developed a great compatibility, and within a span of few months of togetherness, both of them get too close to each other. One day, Samir came to me with the news that Monu with a proposal to do something big, knowing that Suhail and Kalu Mama shared a different set of ideologies. ideologies. He was little skeptical about their relation. He still remember it was in January 2015 when somebody informed him about a police gathering in which Kalu Mama made some blatant remark like India not being a country worth living and country of intolerance. दुल्हन को सजाना पड़ेगा. He could gather his discomfort and surprise towards such words of Kalu Mama. I calmed him down. He calmed him down, but still he seemed some muddled. From then onwards, their relationship does not seem to, and he got out because of his father.
Okay. Should I put question to you?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Now,
my lordship.
Let me know the suggestion. दुल्हन को सजाने का वक्त आ गया है. It was stated by PW.
It was taken by PWD.
What is the connection of दुल्हन को सजाने का वक्त आ गया है? Where is this kind of SMS received by the Suhail, accused number 5, as it was hearsay? What is the evidence of it? दुल्हन को सजाने का वक्त आ गया है.
दुल्हन को सजाने का वक्त आ गया was said by the Kalu. Obviously, it was the code that he was going to do some crime against the state.
Listen. Where is the evidence of it? Is there any text message given by someone, Lashkar-e-Taiba, to Suhail or anyone else?
As you can see, their call logs. They were completely. Their numbers were saved. They were completely interacting. That means they were obviously an as a team. And as you can see, the A1 and A2 statement, they revealed that they were going for a crime against the state.
It is their statement, disclosure, but is it relevant, admissible or not? It is your Rupinder Singh SP said so that दुल्हन को सजाने का वक्त आ गया है. Where is the evidence against it?
Sir, in 17.15,
Okay. 17.15.
page number, 1 second.
17.15.
Page number
15.
19. It's page number 19.
17.15.
No, it's yes.
Okay. What did it say?
The accused Monu admitted his involvement in the case and disclosed the involvement of other accused person, namely Kalu Mama, Peter and Suhail. He further informed that Kalu Mama and received instruction from Pakistan and Bangladesh with the blast code Dulhan ko sajana ka waqt aa gaya hai. Blast as soon as FIC and currency reaches Pulwama to Suhail. And my lordship, as the accused ran away through an illegal method, and he is not. We have not the police have not catched him yet, and he still ran away without any legal thing or anything, which proves that he must have been involved in such activities. That is the reason he ran.
My question is entirely different. I am putting you question. He discloses under section 27 of evidence that is it admissible unless it has not been corroborated with others. दुल्हन को सजाने का वक्त आ गया. It is my admission. Whether it is covered or it is searched by some police officer, that is there any text statement or not?
My lord, as we are talking about the corroborative evidence, sorry?
Where is the corroboration of my statement?
Yeah, that's what I'm coming on. What I'm saying is, my lord, there are sufficient material evidence and there are sufficient evidence involved which proves and if there my lordship, if there is no corroborative evidence, that doesn't we can't just put this prosecution case to an end.
You simply satisfied me. Where is the text SMS given by any of them that दुल्हन का सजाने का वक्त आ गया है?
Yeah, Monu disclosed that Kalu received information from Pak and Bangladesh.
Is there any text SMS received by Suhail or any accused?
My lord, there were no messages required, and the Suhail is on run anyway.
Can we say it is your hypothetical story?
No, my lord, because as you can see, the independence witness were there and carrying FICN notes, worth rupees of 5 lakh, and they were not unknown. They would have known because they were 5 lakhs, and it was FICN. It was of high currency, and it hence proved that they were doing something illegal. It cannot be said that this is.
We have to form a chain of sequence evidence to दुल्हन को सजाने का वक्त आ गया. It is missing from your part.
And my lord, the Kalu was in constant touch with A5.
That is, I don't deny it. I am asking you, is there any chain? दुल्हन को सजाने का वक्त आ गया है. You are missing the chain.
Yes, my lord, the chain.
Simply
Sorry.
before the statement of accused person. It has no corroboration with other accused.
My lord, they were taking the money. They were taking the money to the Pulwama.
They were caught in Delhi.
Yeah, they were caught in money. They were caught in Delhi
It is the
because of the secret information.
It is the disclosure statement of the accused person that they were taking those money from Malda to Pulwama to hand
Yeah.
over Mr. Peter over there.
Yes.
They were caught in Delhi,
Yes.
right?
Because their mission was incomplete.
The mission was incomplete. In the meantime, they were caught. Now the thing is, दुल्हन को सजाने का वक्त आ गया है, where it has been corroborated with others.
My lord, as we
They were meeting their mind. 120B is applicable when the meeting of mind is there. Where is the meeting of mind? Because this part is meeting. Anyway,
no, my lord, I'm just giving the answer. My throat is too.
please take it.
I'm just giving the answer. I just want some water.
Abhishek ji, how much time we have? Mr. Abhishek, how much time we have? You are not audible.
You are not audible, Abhishek.
Ah.
Yet not audible. I think we're done with the time.
आवाज नहीं आ रही है. चलिए. Please have water, and if you can answer, please answer.
Yes, sir, I really want to answer this thing. The accused herein were in constant contact. In financial inclusion, account opening from Kalu Mama has mentioned mobile number as his number, and this is the same number whose serial shows frequent communication and association with mobile numbers of Peter A4, Samir A1, Monu A2, and Suhail A5. And in case Palvinder Kaur versus the state of Punjab, this court had said that in order to establish the charge under Section 201 of IPC, it is essential to prove that an offence has been committed, that the accused knew or had reason to believe that such offence had been committed, and both the A1 and A2 were carrying the FICN, and they had the motive to do something. With the requisite knowledge and with the intent to screen the offender from legal punishment, cause the evidence thereof to disappear, or gave false information respecting such offence, knowing or having reason to believe the same to be false.
Okay. My next question to you, the same question which I will put to your speaker one. What are the method by which the expert has opined that these currencies are FICN? I am asking about simply method, not their result. What was the method they applied to declare it that it was a FICN?
So the CRPC method?
The RPC method is no method.
And the procedure.
I'm asking what procedure has adopted by the expert to say that these currencies are fake currencies.
Sir, it alleged that prosecution seized some deficit currency note from the appellant. That apart, Central Forensic Science Laboratory report was not proved in view of Section 293 of the CRPC, but the learned additional discreet and centered solely relying upon the oral evidence of the prosecution passed the sentence of rigorous imprisonment.
Okay, it is not there. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wish you best of luck. You
Thank
argued
you.
well.
Best of luck.
You both argued well. Okay, अभिषेक जी, अभी भी आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है सर.
Sir, are there any more further questions?
No further questions. Thank you.
There are a lot of questions, but time is limited.
Time is
We
limited.
cannot lot
That
of-
is the reason we will not be able to ask you further questions.
But you trying to query, to reply the answers. That's very great. Abhishek ji,
Thank you, sir.
Abhishek, shall we leave or what is the next thing to be done?
सूझने की शक्ति है.
No, you are not. No, you are leaving.
Anyway, speaker number 2.
Yes, my lordship.
What I wanted to ask you, there is a, if you declare that these currencies are fake, they applied some method that by this adopting these methods, we came to conclusion that these currencies are fake.
Okay. My lord, first there was
Speaker 2, time is over now. I'm just telling you.
Time is over. We just
okay.
even
I'm
one
just
session from my
discussing.
side.
Because
Sir, I just got one more answer in my mind. I don't know whether should I speak it or not.
You must read Section 8 of the Evidence Act.
Okay,
You will get
okay.
your answer from there.
Okay. Section
Yes,
8 of it.
Yes, noted preparation and
whether our
previous
time is
subsequent
okay,
conduct. We are
Section
done with
8 of the
the
Evidence
notice,
Act.
preparation and previous or subsequent conduct. What sir was questioning you, this was the answer to it.
Section 8 of the Evidence Act.
Yes, this was the
Okay.
answer to it.
Thank you so much. I will read about it.
Please. Abhishek, shall we leave now? Or
okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
to
Wish you
both the
best of
speakers.
luck to both of
Thank
you.
Best of luck to both of
Thank
you
you
and
so
your
much.
teams. Okay.
Thank you.